very touching story that my mother had told me once of Jayadev. I don't know if you have heard that?
Yes.
Is it still famous over there?
Yes, it's Jayadev and it's in Krishna Chaitanya.
Yeah.
Up to now, people doing well.
Oh, yeah.
They're very famous.
Yeah.
So devotion.
Yeah.
Just like Meera in this.
Oh, yeah.
Maharashtra.
But how is love could put life into something which is inanimate? Jayadev.
It is almost traditional, you know.
But is there any substance in it, or my mother just told the story?
There was.
There was something. Oh, then it's all right.
It's fading now.
Because my mother had that habit, to just incite my love for the Lord by anything. And I am continuing to do that also. Embellish something.
I could introduce myself to your mother in your ancient.
No, but it's a beautiful story. I loved it very much. I still remember. I tell people sometimes about how love should be, even if you are driven out from the temple.
Yes. Baba also visited that place. Baba also visited that place.
Oh yes, he did visit the place. But not at the time of Rath Yatra.
No, not. That is
What is the story your mother used to tell?
We can't have the liberty of just exchanging some good news. You want the story about it. It's a very telling story. You would like to hear it?
Yes. The story about Jagannath you are telling.
Yeah.
Now tell us about the present Jagannath,
Oh, present Jagannath.
Why stories when the facts are before you?
All right, present Jagannath, the story. I'll come back to that story of yours.
Yes.
What present Jagannath story is just a simple one that you reminded me. After Sai Baba dropped his body in 1918, and Upasni Maharaj, of course, was under the guidance and nazar and grace of Sai Baba. We all know that. And then Upasni Maharaj thought of going to Kashi for the Shraddha of Upasni Maharaj. Why he did it, we don't know, but the story comes, it's a beautiful story too. At that time, Meherwan was with him. Meherjee, as is known at that time, he was known as Meherjee. So, you know what Shraddha?
What is that?
A person who has died, the close one. So it is said that, in memory of the person, the departed soul, you just offer something so that in his memory to the Lord, invoking the blessings of Lord.
Actually, it's called Shraddha.
We call it Shraddha.
That's not faith.
What is Shraddha? Please tell them.
Shraddha is correct.
Yeah.
Shraddha is
Shraddha is faith, but Shraddha is a ceremony. A ceremony once every year for the departed one.
Yes.
The anniversary
of the departed one. Yeah.
It's just like anniversary.
Yeah.
Anniversary.
So it was not in 1919 that Maharaj went there, but it was say 1920, 21, I forget the year. Just before when Meherjee was with him. So naturally, this is the story told to me by Gustaji, who was there. So Maharaj went with some of his followers. Meherjee was also with him. And they went and stopped under the bridge. If you all know that Kashi bridge is there, you know how it is. It's a railway bridge. So they had no other place, so they went there. And Maharaj said that now we will perform the Shraddha of Sai Baba. It's a holy place, it's a place of pilgrimage. And revolving around Upasni Maharaj were all the rites, rituals and ceremonies and this and that. Today we were talking about it, this morning about it also. So naturally they wanted, in Shraddha you have to cook food and you have to offer food. That is one of the most important things. With after invoking the grace of the Lord and all the things, I don't know. I know nothing about the ceremony. But what is happening is that they are preparing for a big feast, and all Brahmins are to be invited. It is said that through the Brahmin satisfaction, that satisfaction reaches the departed ones. Something is there. I think something of that sort is there. So naturally the Brahmins were invited. Pre-invitation was sent some days, 2-3 days prior to the real Shraddha ceremony, the anniversary of Sai Baba. So they went from one place to another, inviting the Brahmins, please come there, there's a feast there, please join in the Shraddha of the Great One. So they had accepted the thing. But when they heard all these things, that some preparations are going on, so they came to the site to see what's happening. And to their amazement, what happened was that all of them were not Brahmins there who were working there and preparing for the feast. And it is traditional amongst the Brahmin world in India that they do not eat from the hands of anybody else except from the Brahmins. And seeing Meherjee in his usual dress of white shirt and white trousers and all that, he couldn't be a Brahmin. There was no dhoti or anything of that sort. So naturally, some Brahmins put a question to Upasni Maharaj, who was in his, as usual, the sackcloth and all that. They knew that he is a Brahmin. They didn't know who Upasni Maharaj is, or at the time who Sai Baba is. They had vaguely, some may have heard about Sai Baba. He was not that well known all over the country at that time. Now you have the airports, and you have the bus running, and this and that. At that time, nobody cared. So those Brahmins come in a lot and says, there is a Shraddha going to take place here. Says, yes, you all are invited. Maharaj says with all humility. And that please do come on the next day. So what happened was that they looked at Meherjee and says, but he is also working. What's his name? So there Maharaj said, his name is Jagannath. The Lord of the universe. That's how I remember. Our modern Jagannath is. And the Brahmins felt satisfied with that. Barabar se. So it was good of you to have brought one soul back from the other
world.
I
never knew till now his suicide contemplate karta. I knew that he wanted to leave his training or that he was on drugs or anything like that.
It was good. So that's how Jagannath was there. The story of Jagannath that my mother told me is a different thing. Now we come back to a place called Puri here. You see, in Puri is a place in East India, northeast of India, and there is a temple dedicated to the Lord of the world, the universe, called Jagannath. And in that there is an image, the idol of Lord Jagannath. And every year there is a huge gathering taking place there. Thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of people come there, and they place that idol there in a rath, means in a chariot, and draw human beings, draw the chariot, they yoke themselves and roll the chariot through the streets and all that, edifying the Lord. Naturally, He is the Lord of the universe, the Creator. So that's how it is. And people have faith in that Jagannath, and they go to the temple and all that. But the entry is restricted. It's only meant for those who are permitted to be there. But the ones who are of low caste or anything, so they are not allowed. It's a restricted entry inside the temple, the sanctum sanctorum. See, that's how it was. But what had happened was that there was one devotee of Jagannath who was a carpenter. His name was Jayadev. So, to cut the story short, he was a devotee of Jagannath also. Who isn't? Everybody in his own way, calling him out with different names, but everybody is, in one way or the other, is a devotee of the Lord. So, because he lived there, naturally his devotion was directed towards Jagannath. So, he is there. So, and when he was young, he got himself mixed up with the whole community of the Brahmins and all that, and he would come and worship the Lord there, and his devotion reached that height. So there he couldn't do without being near there in the sanctum sanctorum and this and that. One day, when the years rolled by, passed by, one of the Brahmins pointed him out. He says, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm a devotee of Jagannath." He says, "What's your caste?" And he said that Shudra means low caste. He says, "How dare you come here? You have defiled the sanctum sanctorum. Why are you here? You must not be here. Get out from here." And he was driven out of the place. He says, "You have defiled the place. What about the sanctity of the place? We have to undergo a lot of ceremonies in order to again purify the whole thing because of your presence." So poor fellow says, "I'm so sorry, I won't come again." And he, with tears in his eyes and all, he stood outside the door. And there, of course, the Brahmins, the priests forgot about it and all that. And there, all of a sudden, again they spotted him there because most of them had left and he is still there, lost in thoughts for the Lord. There he was, by the scruff of his neck, he was thrown out of the whole premises, out of the gates, main gate. So he would stand there and worship the Lord. Naturally, he was a devotee of Jagannath. And then he would crane his neck and try to have a glimpse of the Lord and couldn't get it and all that. So he got a thought. All that he needed was, he was enamored of the feet of the Lord. He didn't care for his body or anything. All that he worshipped were the feet of his Lord. So what he did was that, being a carpenter, he carved out the legs of Jagannath and put it in his hut. And there, naturally, he is prohibited from coming here. So he would go to work and again come back and bathe the legs and put flowers on them, whatever he could afford, and press his feet and all that sort of thing, as if he is there alive. It went on for some time. It went on for some time. And while he is doing this and being prohibited from entering the temple and all that, gradually Jagannath's, it is considered to be a fact, yes, Jagannath's leg, the idol that is there, they started withering, waist downwards. And one day it was so noticeable that the priests were amazed as what's happening. Some termites have gone there, or what is happening, who is eating them, but they got withered, you see. Yeah. And nobody knew. And here what's happening is that Jagannath is having a talk with his beloved Lord in his own hut there, and there are little rooms there. So from one of the side rooms, there are people who know him as a carpenter. Yeah, he is Jayadev, we know him. Yeah, he is an ordinary man. But they knew him that he is a bachelor, he is not married, there is nobody there. And what are these sounds coming out of a person who is enamored of a girl or something like that? He is talking in those terms, and very endearing terms are used here. So they try to look there, stillly, quietly, what's happening there. And sure enough, there is somebody there. And he is also there, and they are having a lovey-dovey talk, you see. And so they started, naturally these tongues wag, so they started passing rumors that Jagannath brings some woman over here in the night and has a talk there and we have seen him doing something with her and all that sort of thing. In the meantime there, what happened, the priests are horrified and the news reaches to the king who was ruling over there at the time. And what he found was that this is truth, what they are saying is. So what is the cause of it? And he gave orders to find out what's the cause of it. Why should it happen? Something has taken place. Nobody knew. They can't do anything. So the king ordered that scouts be sent all over the places there in the capital there and find out the cause of it. So 2 and 2 put together, they would see that he is fiddling with some of the legs that are there. And these legs there of Jagannath are withering. So what is this? And he was the one who was thrown out of the temple. They knew that also. So they put 2 and 2 together and reported to the king that maybe this fellow he is the cause of it all. So they broke open the thing and saw, and at the time he was serving the Lord. He was bathing the legs, and they were palpable. His love, his devotion was so great that he made not only the legs wither there, but his devotion gave life to the legs here. And he would be serving them and massaging the legs and doing his best as a devotee, as a slave of the Lord, he was doing it. So that's how he was found out. And then they had to ask pardon of him and beseech him to restore. He says, I know nothing of it. I am innocent. I have not done anything of it. I have been driven out. I was culprit because I went there, but I didn't know. I didn't do anything. So then they made him the priest over there. That's the story. One day Baba called this man and interrogated him. What business has he here? What is he trying to do? And whatever it is, I don't know anything about the interrogation, but he blurted out that he is Satyaman, who was much wanted one. He had committed a lot of murders and thefts and all that. He was a dread of the whole place, area here, you see, and so on. And Baba says, what will you do? Why do you do it like that? Do you realize what the sanskaras that you are accumulating and all that? What about your family then? What will happen to your family? And all that must have taken place. So Baba extracted a promise from him not to do it. I had not heard 1 year, 2 year, 1 month or 2 months now. It was there. Nothing to do it. But then he says, but Baba, then if I stop robbing because then there would be no income, how will my family live? So he says, oh, yeah, what you say is right, you are practical. So do one thing. We have our stores over here. Every week you come and take whatever is needed of rice, dal, and oil and soap and whatever is needed you take from the stores. And storekeeper was Gustaji at the time. And Baba called Gustaji to him and says, here is a man, he will come every week with his requirements. And whatever he requires, see that from the stores is given to him without any question. Will that be all right? He says, yes. So then he left. So he was deriving this benefit, you see, from Baba. And for quite a number of months, you see, he abstained from any theft and robbery or any evil acts, you see. One day, as you said, he got a thought that, well, I come every time and most probably my Baba has forgotten and I have given my promise and all that sort of thing. But after all, he is a man who thinks that I need some ready cash and this and that and I must go in. So he went out looking for a nice place where he can, of course, lay his hands and have some booty. So as you said that, well, he tried his best, you see, without disturbing the people and all that, thinking that he will be very successful in this. And he was an adept. And it is said that he was so adept in his art that he would climb a straight wall. He had such grip with his toes and with his fingers that he would climb. He demonstrated there before Baba and the Mandli. And not the way that he would climb, but his face downwards and leg upwards. That's how he would scale the walls. He was famous for such things. And he was much wanted by the police at the time of the British Raj and all that. So,
Spider-Man. The Spider-Man.
Yes, Spider-Man, yeah. You have film like that?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep. Television.
So that most probably it is his copyright. So that's how it was. So what happened is that thinking that, well, that some man has told me, he is a good saintly person, he did good for me and all that, but I need to do good for myself, and also he went again for that. And he made an entry into the house And to his utter surprise, through the door, he sees, as soon as he made his entry, he sees Baba standing like that. As if it was Baba's own house it was. And he was so horrified. And he fell at his feet and ran away. And then he came the next day to Baba and described the whole thing. And says, forgive me forever now. And from that day he didn't do anything. And he continued to draw his this. But most probably you may not have heard the sequel to it. What had happened is, see the change that was brought in him. So what happened is this, that of course this continued and Baba forgave him and all that. Now Baba is going for the first time to Iran, and he took his mandali to Iran. But there was a family, Baman Shah's family lived there, where now is the old Dharamshala. So that family, Irani by name, Baman Shah, his wife and 2 daughters and 1 son were there, living there. So Baba entrusted the charge to them and says, here is the little money that somehow or other you manage, here is the stock of grain and all that you manage here. Now we are all leaving and I will be coming within about 2 months' time. In the meantime, you can pull on. And what happened is that somehow or other they managed, the whole family managed there. Satyamang would come every now and then as usual, and he would take some things from them because they had the store. And to his utter surprise, he found that he inquired as to where is Baman Shah. So the family said that he has gone to the village now to beg, because Baba's return was delayed by long. It was a long journey, long tour. He didn't return at the appointed time and so forth. So naturally, Baman Shah was Baba's man. So what to do? If Baba can beg in the villages, he would go out to beg and all that. And he says, he goes out to beg, and I am the one who takes away these things from here, because they had kept the store for him, whatever was necessary. So he felt so much that he waited there. He told Bamanji not to go out to beg now, and on his behalf and family's behalf, he went out and begged. And till Baba returned, he would beg for them and bring all the things here. And that's how he and the family were sustained till Baba returned. And Baba was deeply touched and very happy and pleased with it.
Clarification, I am doing some translation work.
Yeah.
Meantime, I was confronted with this small but detailed information. In some of the books it is said that Baba was born at 5 a.m. In Godman it was said. And but in the course of some publications, Bhaskar Raju, he has written as 5:15, and Dharmarao Naidu has written as 5:1. Of course, this may be a silly question, but I am writing the chronicles in Telugu. That's why, after all, you are there now. We had an opportunity to clarify. Otherwise, we will go to David Sesuna.
Because I was not born at the time.
No.
And our authority is himself. He himself.
Yeah.
So what happened is that in the early years, Baba's birthday was celebrated at on different dates, according to the Zoroastrian calendar. Zoroastrian calendar is a lunar calendar. So naturally, the day, it won't be on a fixed date, English like the English calendar on a fixed date, but the dates would differ. Sometimes it will be 10th of February, sometimes it will be 22nd of February, sometimes 12th of February, like that it would differ. So, when Baba's people, his followers, the numbers grew larger and spread out wider, so there was chaos. We had to write in letters and informing them that Baba's birthday will this year falls on such and such a date, because they never followed the Zoroastrian calendar. There were Hindus and Mohammedans and Christians and all that. It was chaotic. So even now, till today, there are Zoroastrians who adhere to the Zoroastrian calendar, and they, although Baba didn't stop them from doing it. So what happened is, this situation came about, I think, in the year 40 or so, in 1940s, in the 40s. Till then, birthday was an uncertain date, So what happened at that time, that Baba fixed the thing. And says, my birthday date at that time was 25th of February. 5 a.m. I was born. So it is 5 o'clock. And then he ordered the mandali here. In his presence, we would be celebrating his birthday on 25th of February. And our celebration was just exactly at the stroke of 5. Even today we do it. Last February we did it. We just wait for the whatever the local time is at 5 o'clock. All that he told us to do is to just hail him 7 times. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. 7 times we say that, and that's our celebration. It is 5 o'clock on 25th February.
And the second, 25th February, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Thank you.
25th February, 5 o'clock. He has fixed the date.
7 times.
Yeah, 7 times we do that. Yeah, that's all. Then we greet each other. We greet Baba in one another like that, and say happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. They greet us back. They greet Baba. We greet Baba in each one. That's all. That's how he wanted us to do.
Once again we are rewarding.
Pardon?
I mean, once again
Yeah.
we take reward in him.
Yeah.
So to say.
One more thing was, I think I noted that one. In our second visit to Persia, during September 20th, 1929, while the party was returning to India on land route at Duzda village, a border a border between Persia and India, Baba's party experienced difficulty in obtaining some clearance to travel by train to Quetta from the Indian representative. In that conditions, you see, it seems he has asked 2 of his Mandali people, disciples, whatever maybe, accompanying Baba, to go and approach that Indian representative. Whenever they approached, but they were turned down. So on the 4th time when they were asked to go and still approach, because the train is supposed to start on the next day, happens to be Sunday, before 10 o'clock. So they said, they expressed their inability. Baba, we went so many times and nothing. So he was very much annoyed. How is it my own Mandali disciple? They are doing it. At that time, some local merchant appeared, with a letter from that governor of that one, recommending to that Indian embassy. But there was except that there was no incidence anywhere, seeing that either the Mandali or the disciple accompanying Baba. Whenever Baba says something, it is done. 100 times go means 100 times go. But it is a fact that the 4th time they didn't go.
No, the thing is that what happens is that it is even later years also. After all, Mandali are human beings. They are men. They have got their minds and they have got their feelings. So his ways are such. He is man amongst men also, and he is God man. But what happens is that being him that he is, he does his work through us. And his work through us is shaving our ego, shaving our aham, that is the ego. So time and again he would do that. Simple thing is, what's the time now? He'll ask us. So we'll look, it's 10 past 12, Baba. So, what's the time? He said, 10 past 12. Somebody will say, no, Baba, it's about 9 past 12. So why do you say 10 past 12? So after 5 minutes again, he'll say, what's the time now? He'll ask me again and again. And I just give approximate time. He says, no, but exact time. So no sooner I have said the time, then he'll again ask, well, what was the time you said? So it would exasperate us, because our human minds are there. So and we would again say, but I just now told you, Baba, that is so likewise, what happens is that, but Baba, we have gone there. They said no. So what to do now? We'll take some other course and all that sort of thing. So there is a possibility like that, because we know he lived the life with him, and in spite of us, his compassion. He is our mother and father in one, as he says. In spite of us, he allowed us to live with him and all that sort of thing. But he would exasperate us, there's no doubt about it. There's nothing new about it. Don't expect the Mandali that, they will carry out the orders implicitly, immediately and all that. Of course, we did that. We can't deny that. We did it, but we have no guts to say that we did it. He got them done to us. You follow? Yeah.
May we continue to give a little trouble?
Yes.
That is, although we are reading the book, but still since he was there,
yeah.
some incidents, we were also there, along with Baba, along with some other mandali.
Yeah. There is a story I think printed somewhere. It's about Krishna, you know.
Krishna.
Yeah. So yeah, it is of Krishna who was a night watchman there. Yeah. He was from Malabar. Krishna Nair, you must have met him. He's still there. He's still alive.
Still there, yes.
Where in the docks? He's working in the dock.
No, he's retired. I think he stays there, but
He stays there in Bombay.
yeah.
So yeah, there is a story like that. So what had happened was that
That was approximately in which year, please? I think in late 40s.
40s must be,
Late
because then in 50s Krishna was not with us. So what had happened was just this, that Baba told him that in the night he feels, you see, the exasperation is all the time there, and in the night to be with him, it is he who keeps watch over us, not we are keeping watch over us. That is my experience being a night watchman myself. So it is good that he keeps watch over us, otherwise it is so tedious not to move about and not to make any noise and not to do this. You can't even sneeze, you can't even cough, you can't even clear your throat. Otherwise you just sit up on the bed and say, have you no concern for me? Don't you want me to rest? Is this the way that you look after me? And all that sort of thing. And but I couldn't help it, Baba. I was getting choked. Control yourself. So our yoga was just to keep night watch. That is the greatest yoga that he taught us, you see. Whatever it is. But it was so much of a relief when he would ask for a glass of water or do this. We could ease ourselves, you see. Yeah. So we were waiting. When would he wake up? And but every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, he came to our rescue. And said, what's the time now? How is it? What is the noise that is there? This and that. Anything, any excuse, he would just keep us alert. So that's how nobody can dare say that he did the night watch or he was the one who did it or anything. It's only him who made us go through it all. Otherwise, we have seen many people who would want to do it and did it, but they did it for a short time. They were far better than most of us who wanted to do it, who wanted to serve. But where are they now? No more. But why are we here? So it makes us believe, makes us feel convinced that it was only he who, in spite of us, kept us with him. Yeah, that's how it is. Made us do these things. So Krishna was exasperated one night and all that with all the mosquitoes and other botherations and all that, and says what sort of a God he is, and he calls him, he says that he is that, and how God is merciful, and you read in a Bhau's book that while the world slept, all that is there, it's all there, all that is there. So it was like that. So next morning Baba says, Baba tells him, in the early morning we'll have to go, engage a Tonga and we'll go, we have to go somewhere. So then, something he told him to take breakfast or something, I forget now, and tea or something. So, but he was so sour at that time, you see. The Tonga was called and they sat and they went. And there they came to this person who was a yogi, great yogi, you see. And he was standing on his one leg there, and his leg had swollen like an elephant's leg and all that, and with one hand like that, and just their postures are there, their Hatha yogas are there and all that. So there, of course, Baba came there, met him, and his work was over. They returned. And then again, Baba sent him back. The story is a long drawn story, but the gist is that Baba again sent him back with a certain message. And to his surprise, what he finds, he is no more there the next day. And says, what happened? We had come over here, where is he? So they are all, I think they had just returned after the funeral or something like that. And they found that he had died. And what happened was, he says, what happened? Why? How did he die? We were here yesterday. So he said that I have met him. Now there is no, I have met the Lord or something.
Lord of the universe.
Yeah, I have met the Lord. And now my purpose is served. And now I have no more purpose to live, extend my life. I was waiting for him. He came. My purpose is served. And he dropped. That's all. Then that reminded Krishna that what he says is so true. But he is that. Although he may be like this, you see, provoking and all sorts of ire and this discussion, but he is what he is, yeah.
All these are connected.
Yeah.
Important small things.
Yeah, small things. So he drew our attention to these small things only. Our minds are always like that.
Now,
Mind gets boggled, you see, if he were to speak speak highly about himself. So mind has to be awakened through these small things only. Mind cannot accept big things.
they're taxing you too much. Again, this one by one, they're all keeping in. Another thing, I think our friends are already hard.
No, I think we must allow him to speak. Because these are all books already they chronicle. What I disturbed was only for clarification. Let us hear him. We have no opportunity of
Today, what happened is, I don't know, Balasab Nathu has asked me that it will be a nice thing for you all to hear this.
Yes.
What is happening to present Jagannath. Is there anybody who can read good English?
I know.
You can read good English. You are a good English reader.
Yep. You remember?
Yeah, I know. Clear and loudly. It's a rendering from, I don't know, you all may have heard of Mr. Khandale?
Yes, Madhukar.
Yeah? Is he retired or is he still on post office?
He might be. Nagpur se na?
Nagpur, Khandale. So what happened is, this is his experience he's writing now. Yeah, please read it.
Premashram at Center. This is a free translation of a report in Marathi by M.B. Khandale. This Baba Center was opened at Sri Marotrao Nathunji Gakre's residence on 19th April 1984. Within a year of the center's opening, it developed rapidly and many people had different experiences about Baba. Prayers and arti were performed regularly. Once, Sri Ukadrao Chopate, aged 35, from Kajali village about 20 miles from here, came as a guest to the center, where he saw beloved Baba's photo. On seeing Baba's picture, he had actual darshan of Baba, and Baba indicated to him to give up smoking. He at once threw away the bundle of bidis and matches. While still weeping, he began telling people that Baba is the living God, he gave me darshan, etc., etc. And in this way, different people of the village had different types of experiences. But the important details I am reporting are given below, and all expect guidance from you regarding this matter. Unique Premashram at Savali.
Savali is a village. Savali, near Varda.
The real beginning of this Premashram started on 18th of March 1985. On that day, a boy named Dhyaneshwar Dole, age 20, started weeping loudly in the midst of arti. After some time, he became calm, and other boys also started weeping during arti and crying out, "Baba, Baba." There were 7 older boys. In time, the emotional weeping and crying of these boys has lessened, and some of them have sobered and do not weep now as they did in the beginning. On Friday, June 7th, 1985, at 6:30 p.m., the wife of Sri Gakre started weeping loudly for the first time in the midst of arti. At that time, 1 older boy and 3 younger boys also started weeping loudly. Day by day, the number of boys who wept increased to 30 to 35 to this day. These younger boys are of the age groups between 7 and 14. These younger boys were not coming for arti before this, and they had not read anything about Baba. They had casually heard Baba's arti and Baba Jans on tape recorders at some places in the village, and the boys began to sing hymns and these Baba Bajans, and gradually they started coming for arti at Sri Gakre's residence. It was during arti that all this started. In the beginning, the boys gazed one-pointedly at the photo of Baba. Tears started flowing from their eyes. Then they started weeping and crying, "Baba, Baba." Nothing can describe the boys' one-pointed attention and their restlessness. Some of them kept gazing at Baba's photo for 1 and 2 hours, continuously without distraction, and then their eyes would become red. In some cases, the eyes appeared to have become larger. On some occasions, some of them started making gestures with their hands, but always remaining silent. Usually when one boy starts making these gestures, the other boys also start gesturing with their hands. The boys do not stand. Sometimes they start moving about like snakes on their hands and knees and move toward Baba's photo. If the photo is on the wall, with hand gestures, they ask that it be taken down. These emotional boys then kiss Baba's photo. Sometimes a boy holding a Baba photo where Baba wears a cloth on his head goes crawling like a snake to the other boys and tells them by signs that Baba has an injury under the cloth. When 5 or 6 boys are together putting their hands around each other's necks, they kiss each other, their eyes filling with tears. Like 4 or 5 snakes sleeping and crawling on their bellies, entangling amongst themselves. In this same way, these boys entangle their hands and feet while laying on their bellies and then move forward or backwards together. Sometimes this happens for half an hour, and people present have to separate the boys by force, trying to bring the boys back to normalcy. They sprinkle cold water on them, on their eyes and their faces. After 5 or 6 days, some boys stopped crying loudly. These boys do not weep now, but sit in one place and gaze continuously at Baba's photo, hitting the palms of their hands loudly on the ground. Sometimes they put their heads in the ground and then crawl on their bellies towards Baba's photo. Sometimes with signs of their hands, they call some boys while in an emotional trance. Some boy who in an emotional trance who is outside the room and try to bring him inside. If the boy outside doesn't respond, then one of the boys might crawl out of the room himself after him, putting his hands around his neck, and to bring this boy crawling into the room. Sometimes 2 or 3 boys go out with him and try to pull the boy inside the room, but none of the boys stand or none speak out. When these entangled boys come close to Baba's photo, each boy tells something to the other by signs while pointing their fingers at Baba's photo. These boys remain in this condition from between a half hour to 2 hours. If they are allowed to sit again in the room, after some time they revert to their former condition. Sometimes the boys become so emotionally intoxicated that it becomes a real problem for the people present, how to control and pacify them. This may continue to 1 or 2 a.m. in the night. Sometimes the boys are taken away by force to their houses. On the night of June 20th, 1985, it became very difficult to control these boys, so Sri Gakre prayed to Baba, that Baba take care of these boys. There was an immediate response to his prayer on that day. One boy, age 11, who used to get highly intoxicated each day, as soon as he came to the center and entered an emotional trance, now sat in one place with Padmasana pose and in the state of intoxication became less in the other boys. On the 20th of June, 1985, I witnessed all these things. When I went to Savli on request of Sri Gakre at 12 midnight, I asked all the people present there to say the following prayer to Baba. "Oh Baba, please don't let these boys get intoxicated, as the people here have to continuously look after them and get harassed because of the boys' behavior." The result of this prayer was evident on the 21st of June. The boy who was sitting in Padmasana pose on the previous day became the leading helper. He put his hands on those boys who were intoxicated and, pacifying them, finally told by hand signs to send the boys to their homes, one by one. In this way he sent about 10 or 12 boys home. On his instructing, the people lifted some of the boys up and carried them home. This episode occurred on the 21st of June in the morning, and we returned to Nagpur in the afternoon. What changes occurred afterwards we do not know. Daily about 10 to 12 younger boys now have such experiences. Among them, the first, oldest boy, 25, is prominently among them. The following signs are manifest in these boys. Imitating Baba's hand gestures in the real happiness photo, they join their hands and fingers. They keep silence. They do not stand on their feet and finally come out of their emotional trance by uttering, "Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai." When asked about their experiences, These boys explained as follows. We see Baba in his physical form, and sometimes he calls us to come close. Sometimes he tells us by signs that we should not come near. Baba remains silent. We do not fear. On the contrary, we feel happy meeting him. We do not know what else happens. The boys say if we do not come and weep here, then our body and head feels numb. And after coming here, our body is light and the mind is happy. Some of these boys spend the whole day moving around the center and loiter there. When 3 or 4 boys come together, they knock on the door of the center, and if the door is not opened, they place their heads on the door of the center and look at Baba's photo from the opening or slit in the door. This goes on all day until midnight every day. Because of this, Sri Gakre and some other people have to watch over these boys. This has become their sole occupation. Jai Baba, M.B. Kandale.
Will you please comment on this?
Pardon?
Will you please comment on this?
Commenting, what's the comment you see? There's no comment, but this is how it is happening. It's the latest that we have heard. This is July and this is month of June. Quite recently. And they think that it is, well, Baba's blessings are there on them and all that. Who can deny these things? But at the same time, Baba wants us to be very careful. And we should not encourage these boys. Letters have been sent. They wanted our guidance and all that. So a detailed reply has been sent. And quoting from past experiences, what had happened with sons of other families and all that. So Baba wants us not to encourage the kids doing such things, but they should control. Well, feelings are aroused. It's a happy thing, but if they were to control and not express themselves, it would do them much good.
Has this any connection with the story of Ali or Chota Baba like that?
That's what they say, because they must have read these songs and throbs. So that's why they say that Prem Ashram now reopened. But Baba always would want us to contain ourselves. This effervescence that takes place is no good. But how to tell these youngsters? They don't know anything about Baba's life or anything. But who to stop? Who's there? Who are we to stop them from doing that? But gradually they learn through experience. But what has happened, it has become a problem to the people, the family there. Yeah, and of course, the thing is that in other letters that we have received from different persons, so the villagers somehow or other feel that, well, they are casting spells on our boys. So that is the reaction that is taken, that is common people there. The village chief and all that, they come and say, what have you done to our children? Why are you doing like that? They said that we don't do anything. We don't want them, please.